For years, I believed I was living rightly. I followed the rules. I did the good thing. I helped when asked. I stayed silent when offended. I smiled when I didn't feel like it. People praised me for being kind, humble, thoughtful, and I believed them. But being praised doesn't mean being whole. I didn't realize I was building something dangerous, an identity not grounded in truth, but in performance. It looked like goodness. It felt like virtue, but deep down it was something else entirely. I wasn't living a life, I was living an image. There's a kind of deception that doesn't come from others. It's the kind you build yourself, quietly, carefully, layer by layer until even you can't see what's real anymore. That was me. Always agreeable, always composed, never controversial. But sometimes the most dangerous lies are the ones we disguise as virtues. People thanked me for being understanding, for not arguing, for not pushing back. But they didn't see what it was costing me. They didn't see the late nights of questioning, the moments I bit my tongue so hard it bled, the friendships that felt one-sided, but I stayed because that's what good people do. I confused being quiet with being wise. I mistook being liked for being real. And I wore it all like armor, smiling armor, gentle armor, until one day someone said, "You're not kind, you're afraid." At first, I laughed. Of course I wasn't afraid. I was the calm one, the stable one, the one who never reacted. But later that night, in the silence of my room, those words came back like thunder. "You're not kind, you're afraid." What if my goodness wasn't love, but fear dressed in soft language? What if I didn't help because I wanted to, but because I was terrified of what would happen if I said no? What if I was generous not out of virtue, but because I needed to feel needed? When your identity is built on being the good one, you stop being honest. And slowly I began to see it, the illusion I had built. It wasn't real humility. It wasn't grounded in strength. It was a carefully constructed version of myself that made me feel safe and slowly killed who I really was. I wasn't kind. I was compliant. I wasn't humble. I was hiding. And the worst part, I had no idea. Because no one tells you your goodness might be a disguise. They just keep applauding, and you keep performing until you can't remember when you last did something truly free. It's easy to fake a life when everyone loves the mask you wear. But deep down I knew. I knew I wasn't at peace. I knew I wasn't free. I knew I couldn't keep calling this goodness when it was just fear with a halo. And soon, I would meet someone who would say something simple, not complicated, not philosophical, just one sentence, one teaching, and that teaching would not just correct me. It would end the illusion. It didn't come from a book. It wasn't printed in gold. No crowd had gathered to hear it. It was just an old man with tired eyes and a voice like still water. He watched me speak, watched me explain how I do my best to be kind, how I always put others first, how I never want to be a burden. He said nothing for a long moment. Then he looked directly at me and said, "Kindness done out of fear is not kindness. It's control." That was it, just that. No lecture, no follow-up. He just let the words hang in the air like smoke. Kindness done out of fear is not kindness. It's control. I wanted to protest, tell him he was wrong, that I wasn't controlling anyone, that I was just good. But the sentence clung to me, because deep down I knew it was true. Some teachings don't inform you, they expose you. I remembered all the times I helped people not because I wanted to, but because I was afraid to say no. I remembered how I kept the peace not because I was peaceful, but because I was terrified of conflict. I remembered how often I made myself small to avoid being seen as too much. I wasn't being good. I was being strategic. I was using goodness to feel safe. His words echoed in me like thunder rolling through a canyon. They didn't just challenge what I did. They challenged why I did it. Motives matter more than manners. The illusion began to crack. Not in one moment, but in hundreds of little realizations. Every time I stayed silent when I wanted to speak wasn't virtue. It was fear. Every time I agreed to avoid discomfort wasn't compassion. It was avoidance. Every time I said yes while screaming no inside wasn't humility. It was self-betrayal. And that's what shattered me. You can't grow into who you are when you're still clinging to who they need you to be. He didn't say anything else. He didn't have to. That one sentence had pulled the curtain, and for the first time I saw myself not as good or bad, but as afraid. Afraid of being disliked, afraid of rejection, afraid of taking up space. The illusion of goodness is seductive because it's safe. But truth is disruptive. I left that day quiet, not broken, not angry, but shaken, because something in me had died, and something more honest was beginning to wake up. It began with a pause, not a dramatic change, not a reinvention, just space. Space to breathe without proving, to act without justifying, to live without performing. I didn't know who I was without the illusion, but I was finally ready to find out. Real growth doesn't begin with answers. It begins with the courage to sit in uncertainty. I stopped saying yes automatically. I let silence stretch longer than it used to. I said, I need time to think, and let that be enough. The world didn't fall apart, but parts of me did, and they needed to. I grieved the version of myself that was always agreeable. I mourned the mask that kept me safe but stifled my soul. And in that grieving, something shifted. The death of who you were makes space for who you might become. I began to test the edges of my honesty. I told people no. I admitted when I was tired. I stopped apologizing for being quiet. Not everyone liked the new version. Some people drifted, some pushed back. But the ones who stayed because of truth, not performance. You'll lose people when you stop being convenient, but you'll find peace when you start being real. I returned to things I had abandoned. Simple things. Sitting by a window, writing without purpose, eating slowly, breathing fully. For the first time in years, I felt present in my own life. Not watching it from a distance, not narrating it in my head, but living it. Peace isn't something you chase. It's what remains when you stop chasing. The old man's words never left me, not as a burden, not as guilt, but as a compass. Every time I caught myself performing, I remembered, kindness done out of fear is not kindness, it's control. And I stepped back, and I breathed again. This wasn't a journey to become someone new. It was a journey to finally meet the person I had buried under layers of goodness. Sometimes we think we need to become more. What we really need is to become honest. That simple teaching didn't just correct my behavior. It dismantled a lifetime of emotional choreography. And from its ruins, I began to live. Not perfectly, not fearlessly, but truthfully. And that has made all the difference.